Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits, brought to you by All Out Amazon and Flips for Miles. Today we have episode 163 for you guys with my man Rudolph, aka Cinor Investments, who did 1.4 million on Amazon last year with wholesale, and I think a little bit of OA still, right? A little bit of OA actually.
A little bit, but mainly wholesale.
Got you. Sweet, man. So you want to fill all the listeners in on your background, how you got into selling Amazon. I know you were killing it with RA back in the day, and now getting to where most people want to be, which is primarily wholesale.
Yeah. So I first started selling on Amazon in 2020 during COVID. The way it started, I was working a full-time job. And when COVID happened, they actually started cutting into my hours. So I was working less and I was just looking for a way to make extra money because all of a sudden my income dropped and I'm looking for a way to make extra money. So I used to have a few side hustles that I did before in the past. It was nothing scalable. It was just things like driving Uber on the side on top of my regular job. And when I first started selling, the way I first started selling, one of my cousins, he started selling on Amazon. And within like a week or two, I remember one day he showed me his sales and he did like $300 one day. And I was just mind blown. I was like, this is crazy. He did $300 in sales in one day. And then so I signed up as well and started selling. And from then it kind of just took off. You know, I started selling books, used books, and I didn't sell books for long, to be honest. I did it for a couple of weeks and then I started hitting RA and I found some products that were crushing it. And I got my first sale in like July 2020. And by August, I made more than my job. So right away, I started seeing the opportunity of what's possible. And I pretty much started planning my exit, so to speak. 1 month wasn't enough for me to quit my job, obviously. So I wanted to see a little bit more proof of concept. And, you know, things just started doing pretty good. And then by December, I quit my job and I've been full-time since.
That's kind of like the path I think Miles, but at least I took, right? Scanning books, didn't last long, knew you needed something bigger, better, scalable. Went to RA. I actually stayed in RA for, probably like 6-7 months, 4 months, something like that. And then obviously transitioned to OA and now wholesale. But it's interesting, right? Because you're a young dude, right? And that transition out of the corporate like 9-to-5 world into Amazon is a lot easier. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people that listen to us maybe have a family, kids, a more longer term job that they've been for 20 years. Right. So that conversation is a little different. So take us back to that transition. Was there trepidation? Was there people in your life telling you not to do it? Family, friends? Like, what was the lead up? What was the thought process? And ultimately, how did you feel like once you inevitably made change?
Yeah, it's interesting because actually, when I first started selling on Amazon, I didn't really tell anyone.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. You tell everyone on the internet and no one in your personal life.
Yeah, I didn't tell anyone. My cousin knew because he started selling, and my mom knew, and my sister knew. But I didn't really tell anyone. Honestly, I didn't consult with anyone about what to do or whatnot. It just made sense. I knew personally, I saw the opportunity of what's possible. I think that December I made like 10 or 12K in profit in 2020. And at my job, I knew I was making like barely $4,000. So it was
what were you doing at the time?
I worked at it's like a product accounting.
So it was like a big boy job, like a college graduate.
Yeah. It was like a college graduate job, but I didn't really enjoy it much. I didn't really.
Of course.
No one does, man. Yeah, no one does, you know?
Yeah, so for me, it was a no-brainer. I just sort of, worst case scenario, I can always get another job in the future.
Always, man.
That's Miles' go-to.
They will always let you donate.
It'll always be there.
Yeah, always be there. Same thing with college and all that stuff, man. But you only get a chance to be young and rich once. Right, so you got to go for it, and you can't waste a day, right?
That's a tweet.
Yeah,
if you're not tweeting it after this, I will.
Yeah, right. Because if you're young right now, you have a narrow window of opportunity with the lack of responsibility. Most likely, you obviously probably have some, but probably not as much as you're going to have in the future. So you need to go ahead and squeeze this and find like-minded kings and queens to build with desperately, like your life depends on it, because it does. Right? Okay, so crushed December 2020. You were very lucky that your homie showed you Amazon in 2020 compared to 2019 because you would have been stuck on the book grind for a year, like I was, right?
That's
Without knowing, yeah, man, right? Without
The
knowing,
book grind was not fun at all, man. I
yeah.
sold maybe like 6 weeks and then I stopped.
Well, the nice thing is it costs you no money though. You know what I mean? So you get some reps in with like
Just a
basic,
lot of hustle.
yeah,
Just
of course,
lot of
right?
hustle.
But when you don't have money, you probably do have time, right? For, you know, some of the
Yeah.
younger folks listening and such. Okay, so we crushed December 2020. We go full time. Talk us through what 2021 and 2022 were like, obviously, because I think things really took off with like getting into wholesale last year and such in 2022.
Yeah.
But talk to us about those 2 years of 2021 and 2022. Like what business model, what types of numbers, what problems were you running into, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So 2021, I kept doing more RA. So a bulk of my products were like mason jars. I was crushing it with mason jars, and the lids were selling separately. So all 2021, those were doing pretty well for me. And as we transition out of COVID, a lot of the RA products that I was buying consistently, they started not performing as well. So that's when I started to transition into more OA. So 2021 was still a lot more arbitrage. And in 2022, we transitioned more into online arbitrage, and online arbitrage was good. It was good in the beginning. And then ultimately, I kind of ran into just products kind of tanking and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
competition, need those
And
more
more
stuff.
competition.
Yeah, yeah.
Dealing with high returns and stuff like that. And I went to the trade show in August 2022, and I met a pretty good supplier at the trade show. And I remember one of the months I was looking at my sales, and I realized like 30%, 40% of my revenues coming from this supplier. So I was like, okay, I should probably focus more on this. And then I started reaching out to more suppliers that I met at the trade show, following up. I even reached out to suppliers that I met at the 2021 trade show, which I also went to. And then I secured another supplier that I started buying from. So I just kind of carried that momentum. And by 2023, I started just focusing more on wholesale.
So let's stay on that RA to OA transition, right? Because it's something we talk about a lot on Twitter. A lot of people hear about it. And I think a lot of times it's easier said than done, right? It's easy to say, oh, just stop going to the stores, just buy the products online, right? But I mean, this is something that Miles is really good at. Like tactically, it's a little bit more challenging in terms of like finding the cheapest price, how to go about that, where to source, how to source. All these things come into question because it's easy just to be in a store and just start scaling, right? So what was sort of like your processes in the beginning as you really started to refine online arbitrage? Where were you looking? How were you looking? What sorts of methods were you using to get that cheapest price? Let's dig into like the OA, the beginning of OA.
Yeah. So when I first started doing OA, initially, I realized I was doing RA kind of inefficient because I was driving to a bunch of stores, and I realized I could just order the stuff online and it gets delivered to me.
Oh yeah.
So when I first started doing OA, a lot of it was just buying things that I was doing retail arbitrage for, but just now buying it online. But when doing OA, whenever I was doing OA, I would usually start with like maybe Rakuten or Top Cashback, seeing what's giving me the most cashback. I feel like if you're doing OA, you need that cashback. Like it's super clutch. I start with that. And I kind of go in there. And I think one thing that's very important that I know Miles mentioned a lot of time is just signing up for the email list. So when they also have good deals and stuff like that,
Yeah,
coupons.
for free, bro. They just tell you.
Yeah.
They just tell, like literally, they just tell you for free. It's crazy.
Exactly. So I kind of let those things kind of lead me, because if you're doing OA, as you guys may know, and you don't have any advantage, you're not using cashback, you're not getting coupon codes. Discounted gift cards is something that I kind of dealt with as well, which is pretty good because some of those stores, if you go to, I forgot the website, but
yeah, Card Bear,
like
Top
5%,
Cashback.
7%.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of the websites that allows you to stack as much things as possible. That your cashback, your discounted gift cards, your coupons, and also using a cashback with the 2%. I was using Spark a lot that get 2% cashback. I know a lot of people are using PayPal now, which gives you like 3% if you check out through PayPal.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's just a matter of how much of those things you can just really just
stack
stack.
up. Yeah,
I never really liked scanning stuff in the store.
yeah,
It's so
yeah.
much, it's a grind. But I guess in the beginning you kind of have no choice. But I stopped doing that after a while in the beginning.
Yeah, and then so one thing I'm curious on is that you've gone through pretty much the whole spectrum of business models. Pretty similar to Garrett, similar to myself, right? Warner. Just going ahead, starting with used books, the most basic stuff, which luckily in 2024 you kind of don't have to do if you don't want to. You're definitely going to learn a lot and you're going to spend
Yeah.
no money doing it, right? And
Mhm.
close to no money. Would you do it the same way over again in terms like, do you think you learned a lot from going through those different models, or do you think you would have
Yeah.
kind of transitioned quicker?
Like you mentioned, I don't think I would have sold books. But you can learn a lot from it. But um that's a good question. I think I would likely do it the same way. Because with RA in the beginning, especially at that time, in my opinion, I feel like it made no sense not to do it. Like the things that I was buying, it was like for a while I was spoiled because I was buying things like 100% ROI consistently. I felt like that was the norm. Whenever I
Yeah.
transitioned, I was like 50% ROI. I don't want that. I'm used to 100% ROI. So
For
at
those
that
listening, it was a whole new world back in the
Yeah,
COVID
yeah,
days.
yeah. Like
it was
pools,
crazy.
man. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
back and look at if you're listening to this and you want to see some good bands, so go on and search like Intex pools, or there was one of them was like the wave. Well, I can't remember what it was called.
Summer
And
wave,
just
summer wave.
some, of course, man. And look
Well,
at the
the
cutest
crazy
sites.
thing
Yeah.
is, at that time, I wasn't heavily plugged in into the Amazon community. So I actually never sold any pools.
And you're in Florida too, which is crazy
I
though, because
know.
you were in
Yeah.
where would have been the best place to get them and
Yeah.
stuff too. Yeah. So what kind of made you, if you weren't plugged into the community, how did you even kind of know about the trade shows? And then can you talk about what that actually looks like for people who aren't familiar with trade shows? Because if
Yeah.
you're close to a major city, it's something that really makes, no sense not to consider, at least, consider going to and such.
Yeah. So I wasn't networking as much and talking with other sellers, but I was still following some of like, for instance, Amazon Lit and Watch Me Amazon, like those pages, they kind of helped me a lot in the beginning because it was a lot of trial and error. So I was watching those pages and came across like Reezy Resales and all those OG Amazon sellers creating content back in the day. But through Amazon Lit, I think is how I found out about the trade show. I actually did the trade show walkthrough my first time when I went in 2021 with him. That kind of helped me a lot. But that's kind of how I found out about the trade show and different stuff like that from following him.
Did you go to the Orlando ASD one a couple of years back?
I did not go to the Orlando one. They had one in Orlando.
I don't
Yeah,
think they
I
do
forgot
anymore, but they
about that.
used to.
Was it like 2019?
No, April. It was April of 2021 because that was right when we just started rocking with each other. Because I remember I was like hella locked down just due to like family circumstances, basically. And Garrett was like I'm pretty sure it was April 2021. And you and Dylan went to it. And that was probably the
Yeah.
first time you and Dylan had hung out in a while too.
It was the first trade show we went to for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. But unfortunately, I don't think they do it in Orlando anymore.
That would be dope because it's like 2 hours
Hella close, dude. Yeah.
away.
Let's-
Yeah.
So like digging in tactically, what is some strategies that you can execute on like the week, 2 weeks, the month before the trade show?
I would say the biggest thing is just don't wait until the trade show. Don't let that be your first interaction with those companies. Just the trade show. Well, I know ASD has a website. There's a directory, and you can pretty much see who's gonna be there. So
Yeah.
I would really say, start reaching out beforehand. And whenever you get to the trade show, it's not like your first time seeing those people, right? You kind of already started building up that relationship. I would say that's the best bet, man. Just really seeing who's gonna be there and reach out ahead of time.
And then more
Yeah.
importantly, how do you even find them, right? Because we talk about ASD, everyone knows about ASD. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there's just as much value, if not more, in some of the smaller ones, some of the more local ones, right? Some of the more specific ones to maybe beauty
Mhm.
or tools or something like that. So how do we go about actually finding these trade shows to go to?
Yeah. So I know there's really is just kind of Google from what I've
Hey,
seen.
honestly, bro,
And
that's how
also,
most things are, man. But we got to let the people know, you know what I mean? We got to remind them.
yeah, and also just being plugged in into the industry because I know there's one seller that I was talking to on Instagram recently, and they told me about a trade show that's in Miami that I didn't know about. So just, I would say being plugged into the community helps out a lot as well.
Did you go to that one? It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right?
Well, I went to Cosmo Prof.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I went to that one.
How was it?
I didn't really like it, to be honest.
Well, yeah, different strokes. Yeah, because it was crazy, man. Like one of my guys, like my guy was there. Jay, he's probably listening to this, and he's like, "All right, we're staying in Miami tonight. Let's go out to dinner." And I pull up, and it's him, and then these other two dudes who I never met IRL, who I knew and really liked too, that I didn't know were going, and they were there for that as well, which was cool as well. So you brought up a good point, right? Getting plugged into the industry, because you have a pretty active IG page now. I see your stories. You got like some type of relatively smaller car loaded up with wholesale product that you buy locally, I think sometimes, and such.
Yeah.
So can you talk about the benefits of really getting plugged in, the networking side of things, and like what you've kind of done to make that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you talk about this a lot, but like you mentioned, just being active and posting content, because the more you post, the more active you are, and the more people know you, the more people see your face, and the more you build that trust in the community where people would want to interact with you and want to I don't know,
Yeah,
help you
break bread pretty
share
much. Yeah,
leads,
pretty much,
pretty much,
honestly. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Share leads, let you know about different strategies they're using and how you can, I learned a lot from so many sellers. So just really being active and just putting yourself out there, and then just being open to receive.
Yeah, it skyrockets your surface area of luck in that to make this possible, there's all these components that you need to know. XYZ code for XYZ website, or when XYZ sales going on, that increase your chance of success. And you just drastically increase your chance of getting access to that info, the more sellers that you're talking to and such. And the cool part, man, is all that's free, right? So what I know you've done literally for like just the past couple of years, you just have your page, right? I know it's like you occasionally like drop a tip, drop a video, some reaction videos too, which I think is pretty cool as well. Some of the good investing content and such. Well, and we've literally hung out too, man. Just living near each other in Florida, where you go to the outlets, me, you, Jose, Steven, right? Have some fun. I know you and Steven even went out a couple of times too, right? Back when Steven was
Yeah, it was cool. Steven's a cool guy.
yeah, so that's a beautiful thing. So what would you tell the OA or just the arbitrage sellers in general that are listening to this about getting into wholesale? Like, where do you think they should start in terms of getting those first couple accounts open?
Honestly, the trade shows where I've had most success, so I would say really go to a trade show. I think it's a no-brainer, and going to a trade show. Well, I know the trade show is coming up, I think in March. Well, I know
Yeah,
ASD
in March.
ASD, yeah.
But I mean, other than that, I would say, if they're not gonna make it to the trade show, just get on Google and really start reaching out. I think it helps when you focus on a certain niche, a certain category, and you kind of have an idea of what you're looking for. I would say look in your store, look at some of the top brands you're currently selling, and just start reaching out and start looking for distributors around those brands. Start going on Google if you're selling Colgate, Colgate distributors or whatever. Or you can also Google, because that's like health and household. So you can just put health and household suppliers and put your city and your state, and that you get really good results doing that. From what I've done on my Google search is use all the keywords. So for instance, put West Palm, health and household, wholesale, supplier, distributor, like put as much keywords as possible in one search. And I really get good results doing that.
Yeah, and then how do you know a company is worth reaching out to? Because you probably see in any major city, 50 to 100 websites immediately pop up the first couple pages. So what does it look like in terms of verifying from that initial touch point of the website or the Google address in terms of verifying this is someone I might want to hit up?
Yeah, I really go by the brands that they carry. If they carry some top brands, I was like, okay, I at least want to call and have a conversation. I don't worry about the website too much because I realize certain companies are like old school, and a company I was doing business with they have good stuff, but they didn't even have a website. So
how'd you find them then?
The trade show.
There we go.
So how do you know, like, is there any sort of indication in terms of like the potential pricing that you're going to receive?
Yeah. Before calling, I don't before calling, I'm not sure there's a way. I think you
Yeah, because
basically
then it's pretty much just OA. Yeah. Like if you can see the pricing on the website, it's OA and it's easy to
yeah.
find and
So
everything.
I don't
Yeah.
like those companies that have the
Yeah.
website on the page. Yeah, I don't like it.
No, I'm talking about like how close to the brand they are, right? How high
Yeah,
up the supply chain they are in terms of like who you're talking to, right? Because obviously we have the brand, then there could be 6, 7, 8, 9 different distribution companies.
that's
And so
true.
like,
Yeah.
right. So like,
So yeah,
go
so
ahead.
whenever I reach out and I'm speaking with them, I would usually ask them which brands they have direct relationships with, which brands that they have a lot of access to. And I can kind of like move forward based on that. But I usually want to ask them that question.
Yeah, that's a good tip. That's a good tip.
Yeah. And then so I'm pretty sure you still work out of the storage unit, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. And all people got all types of excuses, man. Commercial address, yada yada yada, warehouse, whatever. Meanwhile, you're just pulling up in like minivan or some type of car and literally just stuffing the product in the back and everything. So is that you just prepping this stuff yourself? And do you have plans for a warehouse?
So I have like people that hire part-time that helps me prep. Um, I'm not sure, but because if it comes down to it and I need it, then I guess it's something that I'll look into in the future.
It's a good
But
problem to have though. Inevitably, once you have too many products to prep, right,
yeah,
or too many products to store in your storage unit, that's like a good problem to have.
that's true. That's a good problem to have. But so far, the products that I've been selling are very small. So I don't run out of space a lot so far from what I've seen. Because for
Yeah,
instance,
keep it lean, man. Yeah. We don't need
yeah,
to look like we're good at business. Just be good at it. Yeah. No need.
like
Yeah.
I sent out like maybe like a $80,000 order like last week, and it was like 10 small Walmart boxes.
Damn. Wait. Yeah. So you're not even doing pickups. You're probably just dropping shit off, right?
I do, yeah,
Damn, yeah, crazy. Man's breaking all the rules here. Yeah, and literally, it's
I
increasing.
realized I was just thinking about this recently. Like for me, pickup takes longer because you have to schedule it and they give you a window, and I have
4 hours or something.
take
Yeah.
out of my storage and wait for them to get there. When I have like 4 or 5 boxes, I can just the UPS is like 1 mile away from my house. On my way home, I can literally just drop it off. So I was like, scheduling pickup will take me longer.
This
Yeah,
is
and
honestly
then
one of the probably the most lean, successful whole-sale businesses we've come
yeah,
across.
bro,
Yeah.
keep the costs low, man. Yeah, so I assume most of the distributors are local then, and then probably some nationwide with the prep center or something.
Yeah, one of my main ones is local, and the rest are other places.
Yeah.
But I will also have a few that ships directly to Amazon.
Ooh, clutch.
Yeah,
Yeah, what? Because like I literally hate that when people think they're just gonna get that from the beginning. What did it look like in terms of getting that set up? Did they know how? Did you teach them how? Or are you letting Amazon label it and it's kind of like, all right, I hope
yeah.
they get it there good?
So luckily for me, I guess they work with other e-commerce sellers, so they kind of already knew how. And honestly, the guy was encouraging it from the get. He was like, yeah. He brought it up. I didn't even bring it up. He was like, yeah, we can prep for you. And that was my first time. Honestly, I was a little bit hesitant. I was
Yeah,
like, okay.
I agree, bro. Yeah.
I was like, sure, but the first order, you can ship it directly to me, kind of build that relationship a little bit first. And then I started just letting him ship it directly to Amazon. But he brought it up to me.
And how much is the prep cost for that?
Different companies charge different price. The cheapest I've had was 25 cents, and the most expensive I've had is 35 cents.
Yeah, and
Expensive, 35 cents.
that's not even counting the money. Yeah, bro, the money you save from not needing the shipping and the
Time
time too,
too.
right?
Uh,
Because that would be 3 to 5 days probably minimum
Get
extra
it to the
in
prep
the
center for
supply
him to
chain too.
receive it, prep it, send it back
Yeah.
out. That's like, oh yeah.
And then are you predominantly FBA?
yeah, predominantly FBA. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing, man, you could turn that FBM switch on if you ever need it. You got it in the back pocket, you got the skill, right? You
Yeah.
know what it takes and everything too. So if you could go back in time, what are you telling 2-3 years ago, Rudolph, in terms of helping him see the success you've seen today and just new sellers in general?
If I could go back, I feel like I would try to do wholesale sooner.
Yeah.
Because I feel like wholesale, when I started doing more of that, my numbers really jump. And I just like it better, like I had like my largest PO last week, I believe. It was like 130,000. And if I'm trying to source RA, it will take me forever to spend that.
It would
Forever,
take you a
man.
month
Yeah.
to spend
Probably
like
a month of like really going hard.
40,
Yeah,
50
going
hours
exactly.
a
on. Yeah.
week.
Yeah, and
You would have to have some backdoor relationships with managers and stuff. It'd be a process.
yeah. So I really like that, the fact that I could just spend that in one day and I'm just waiting to receive everything and just get the products out. And I can pretty much, I don't know, just chill for the rest of the month, I guess.
Yeah. And then what in terms of getting access to capital has been helpful? Like, have you used any like Amazon loans, credit lines, anything like that?
Yeah, so I've used a few Amazon loans. I don't have any current active. The biggest thing I have active currently is a line of credit from Chase. Shout out to Jomar, because I'm in a group with him and he mentioned his contact at Chase, and I reached out to him and they gave me like a pretty
But
decent.
no, never talk to anyone. Keep your secrets to yourself. Don't. Jomar's a great guy. That's another good episode. If you guys are interested in wholesale, you guys should look up like buy box bandits Jomar. That's a really good dude. You guys should follow him online too. It's a real good dude right there as well. And then where can people find you on social media if they're trying to follow up, ask any questions, see what you're up to and such?
Yeah. I'm pretty much on all platform at Cinor Investments. Cinor is my last name and just investments. Pretty much, yeah. Instagram,
Cool.
Twitter.
Yeah, you get to see my boy with all the product in the back. You might see the
Yeah.
sortina behind the scenes here and there and such and everything. So, dude, appreciate you coming in. You gonna be at ASD in August as well?
I'll be in August. I'm not sure
Cool.
if I'll be in March. I'm thinking about it, but
Yeah,
I'll
the
be.
August one's bigger. Yeah, yeah. And you guys on the West Coast are just looking into wholesale stuff, right? We'll talk more about it. We have a couple recap episodes from past years as well. But yeah, we'll be at ASD in August as well in Las Vegas. You can find the info on Google and such. And you go follow my boy right there. Appreciate you coming on. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks,
For sure,
man.
man. Thanks for having me.